Hello everyone, welcome to another Saturday Live. I'm Alicia. If it's your first time joining, Master Trainer on the Stretch It app, our flexibility app. And yeah, happy Saturday everybody. Look at this hair. What is on the agenda for today? Form first, talking about form, the importance of it, but also offering another perspective I think will be interesting to explain. Also, first time, welcome. Welcome to the live. We have our global competition still running through July 17th and an opportunity for you to win lifetime workshop access. Yes, nice prize. Also, our flexibility bootcamp begins on Monday, and that's when our summer sale will end on June 30th. So shop around, see what you like. I'm sure there are some nice deals. I didn't personally see them. My apologies for not giving the details, but I'm sure you could find out more. Sorry about the automobile noise that's going on outside. You can find out more through link in bio. And just wanted to give everyone a little bit of time to join. Come on, come one, come all. And today we're talking about form that can weave into all types of different stretching positions, but I wanted to speak about the importance of form, not from what I think could also be untrue, but based off my experience, the emphasis on form kind of subdues someone's worry in getting injured. Right, that's one of the main reasons why any participant or someone who is stretching would like to know if they're doing it correctly, so that yes, they're getting the most out of it, but the dominating reason is so that they don't get hurt. And that's understandable, right? You want to continue stretching for as long as you can. You want to continue the program, and you don't want to experience any setbacks. But something to also consider when going over the importance of form is that form will also lead to a more efficient stretch, and that could lead to a better emphasis on said muscle you are looking to target. So yes, the worry for injury can always be present, and it's a valid one. But sometimes it's also helpful to know if you are conducting a certain stretch correctly so you can get the most out of your efforts. And a clear example is this. Let's say you're working on your forward fold. And if you have tight hamstrings, you might reach down with narrow legs because you don't know to step out wider. You might not be able to hinge at your hip, so you round forward. And with your intention of trying to stretch the backs of your legs, went out the window entirely, and you probably just feel your back stretch. Now, is that completely wrong? Not necessarily, because maybe you gave your back a nice stretch if it was feeling tight. But if your intention was to stretch the hamstrings, then we do now have to adjust the form. So these are the 3 points I would probably adjust in order to create a more efficient forward fold for your hamstring stretch. And we started out with a narrow position. For someone who has tight hamstrings, we probably should widen their stance. Number 2, they were going over with straight knees. Probably a good idea to slightly bend the knees. So now we have better access to our hip flexion. Probably one of the most important parts of a forward fold is how successful you are in flexing your hip. The motion of sending your hip back is what's going to largely determine how successful you are in targeting the hamstrings. If you fold without flexing your hip, meaning you don't emphasize the hip tilt, you might still feel your hamstrings, because if they're super tight, any degree of reaching forward will probably target the hamstrings 100%. But once you start to progress and you are now improving your range of motion to some extent, and you want to create an even better stretch, you got to get into that hip fold. So we have the wider stance, slight bend in the knee, can't see my fingers, and deeper degree of hip flexion. So we went from this to this. Even if you still can't touch the floor, I can invite blocks here to demonstrate, again, another adjustment that can be made. If you still can't touch the floor, even with those corrections, you can still get a far better hamstring stretch by, again, widening your stance, giving your knees a slight bend, and tilting the hip. You can feel your hamstrings more, and you can still feel your back stretch. So you're getting a far more robust 2-to-1 for your hamstrings and your back than you were originally getting from here. Cool? That's example number 1. Example number 2 is a lunge. One of my many favorites, probably my favoritist. Okay. So let's fold the mat here so the knees are comfortable during this demonstration. Now I'm putting the blocks to the side because, again, we're doing the example 1. Example 1, go into a lunge. You're pretty low, but you're leaning forward because you can't seem to get the torso up. You feel the stretch in your hip, in your back hip, but when you try to lift your chest, you now feel it in your low back instead, and you kind of lost the sensation in your hip, your back hip. Cool. Is that completely wrong? Not necessarily. If you feel some semblance of a stretch on this back hip, then you are stretching somewhat, right? But if you wanted even more, here are a few adjustments I would make. I would make your stance more narrow so you can focus on increasing the degree of hip flexion without necessarily inviting your low spine. Not that your low spine can't extend at all, but if you're a beginner and you have a hard time separating hip from low back, so that first example I showed, if you don't move your pelvis in a way that will get into that hip extension, you will mostly just use your low spine to lift your chest up. And if you want to improve the range of motion of your hip extension, your pelvis has to tilt. If you are unable to tilt it with this wide stance, then with a shorter stance, you can better access that hip extension that will allow you to increase the degree of your hip and get your low back out of the picture so you can get better acquainted with that hip extension stretch. Number 2, let's say, okay, you're able to tilt your hip great. Now you can stay in this wider stance and work on your hip tilt, inviting props to encourage a torso that's right over your hip and not forward. So if you insist on working on this wider lunge setup, having props will help you feel that hip tilt so you can better access that extension without just arching here to get the chest off the chest off the thigh. So that's where form and refining it can increase the efficiency of that position and also increase the range of motion potential for that body part. let's talk about a shoulder stretch. Very simple. And I'll do this cross-legged so that we could take the legs out of it. Okay. If we're just crossing legs, let's say we attempt a side bend. Now, for someone that has super tight shoulders, with their attempt in reaching over, their chest might collapse forward. They might not be able to extend the elbow all the way because this chain is tight. So they're leaning slightly forward, their chest is pulling forward. Will they feel a stretch? Sure. Because if you're tight, you're going to feel anything. But if you want to make the most out of this position, here are a few changes I would make. Wonderful, I needed this. My lower back is killing me right now. Hopefully, whatever we're doing does not exacerbate the pain, my friend. So please keep me updated. Hopefully that forward fold example helped a little bit. And if you need to stay higher, you can lean on something higher if the floor is too low. The few adjustments I would make for this shoulder reach or the side stretch is to now emphasize the importance of keeping the chest forward. And the reasoning is so that we can better feel the lateral flexion. Now, I love a twist with the bend. This, when going side and reaching forward, feels incredible on the back. But if we wanted to fix opening the chest, I would try to stay higher, because if you try to go low and you're limited in that lateral flexion, stay higher to keep the chest pointing forward. If your shoulders are particularly tight, instead of trying to reach the arm straight overhead, maybe just place the hand behind your head. Also, you can invite a prop to be at your side so that you could bring the floor higher, enabling a far better lateral flexion, aka the side bend, keeping the chest forward, and now opening the chest so that you could feel that stretch on the upper part of your chest now as well. If you would like to, you could lower down to your forearm and maybe instead of reaching overhead, because the minute you reach overhead, that's where it starts to break down, maybe reach higher. And now that we have a platform, use that to spiral the chest so that now we're not only accessing a killer side bend, but a nice chest opener as well. So that's how I will adjust the form to refine the stretch more for those body parts. Because you could argue, and we could do the other side, that there's nothing wrong with reaching this way either. It's just a different stretch. But if you want to get more into that side bend chest opening sensation, then I will limit the degree of your side bend. I would stretch the arm directly up instead of side if it's pulling your chest down. If you want to be more deliberate in that angle, then reach forward all the way while you're side bending and now inviting some rotation. That feels great as well. You could even move between the two. You could take a breath in on the reach up. Exhale, slice forward. So we have a double whammy spine and shoulder flow right there and then, just from adjusting those two positions. Instead of kind of doing halvesies, now we have a clear picture of each that can better target those areas of our body that feel tight and stiff, but we're more confident in how we move through the positions because we made those adjustments. Yay! Another big one is the pigeon. This guy here. We got our bent knee forward and the straight leg back, right? There's a lot going on. And one of the ways where you can better access this hip stretch is to elevate your hip off the floor and to also not force your foot forward. There is an insistence that people feel the foot has to be way out here. But if you're not able to be on top of your hip in that way, then it's not going to suit your purpose whatsoever, and it's going to be painful because you can't get into that position yet. So adjustment number 1 is to slide your foot closer to your pelvis. Adjustment number 2, you could tuck your back toes under, shift your weight onto your shin, place block or even pillow, rolled up towel, whatever works, underneath that front hip. So now you're able to shift your weight evenly onto your pelvis. That's one of the ways where you can now work on not just the front hip, but the back hip. And the back hip is pretty much an opportunity to work on your extension. So when we demonstrated our lunge, you're stretching the front hip in some degree because you feel your butt stretch, and now you're working on your back hip extension. When in your pigeon position, when you lift your torso, you are also inviting back hip extension to the mix. Now, this is particularly difficult for someone who has limited hip extension, where if they attempt to lift the torso, much like what we discussed in the low lunge example, you end up arching in the low spine and not being able to tilt your hip so that you can get your torso more upright. And I feel the pigeon setup is a far more advanced example and tougher for someone, a beginner who has limited hip extension and limited hip rotation and flexion of the front hip, because there's a lot going on in that stretch, and you want to be able to adjust it to your body and to what you're able to actually accomplish in that position. So if you feel that position is just too tough at the moment, we could shelf it for now. Doesn't mean you have to get rid of it completely. It's not like you're going to put it in the attic. You're just putting it on the bookshelf. So it's easy to access and return to once you've prepared yourself in a way that when returning to that pigeon stretch, you can actually feel it in the places that you want to feel it, and have it far more efficient for your body. Right? But those are the two examples or two adjustments I would suggest if you insist on working on that position. Now let's end with straddle. Oh, one of my favorites, right? And much like what we discussed about the forward fold, hip flexion also comes into play here. And the reason I say that is if you are not able, let me see if I could pivot this way. Okay, great. If you're unable to tilt your hip, it's awfully hard to feel the inner thighs as well as the hamstring stretch. So you might be able to get your legs straight, fantastic. But if you're not able to move your pelvis freely, then you are restricted in trying to access not only the inner thighs, not only the hamstrings, but the glutes. So what can we do? Maybe you got to bring the legs a little closer together. Okay. Maybe you have to sit on a block so that you could actually be upright. Okay. Maybe you have to bend the knees, and now that you have something to push against, you could work on that hip tilt in a more narrow position with bent knees and actually trying to lean forward in some capacity. Sitting on a block is great because now your hip can't help but tilt forward because of the elevation. So if you already mastered that and you want to try it again straight on the floor, you could place your hands behind your pelvis and encourage that tilt. And maybe this is as far as you can go for now. If you're looking to reach forward, try not to rock back and reach the arms forward. Again, you feel the stretch on your back. So your back is like, oh, this is great. But your legs are like, what's happening? I thought we were in this together. You lost me. You bring, sorry, had to kill a bug. You bring your hands behind you, tilt the hip forward, and keep that pelvis forward while reaching the arms forward. That is probably one of the best ways you could adjust the position. So now progressing it where not only can you feel the stretch on the inner thighs and on the hamstrings, but now you're getting into the hips as well. Hooray! So form will be different for everyone because it really depends on where you are in your stretching, what level you are in your stretching, and that will evolve. Your form will evolve with your level, and you will constantly have to seek out different adjustments according to what your body is capable of. And that's what makes it exciting, because you don't have to stick to one position forever. You might have to stick to one position for several weeks or several months or even a year or two, but that doesn't mean it has to stay like that for your lifespan. Be open to adjusting and be open to also regressing the position a little bit so you can get the best out of the stretch for your body. Because it's not just about, again, yes, is avoiding injury because we want you to continue this long term. It's also for you to get the most out of the actual stretch. Because if we're doing this in order to increase our range of motion, but nothing's happening, right? Then we're putting in so much time and the output is less than satisfactory. So I wanted to reserve some time after our demonstration. What happened to it? Did it run away? Oh, well, we'll see if it comes out again. It's so funny. I am a giant to these critters, but they creep me out. But I'm sure they're terrified of me. But I'm terrified of them. It's such a weird dynamic. Okay. Well, wherever it went, I'll see it later. Okay. So if you have any questions, I just wanted to be on standby because if you had any questions about the positions we covered, I wanted to make sure that I was here to answer them. And if you hear air in the background, it's because I got the fan pointing on me. Yes, definitely try the block. If it's in your budget, I would get 2 blocks, foam. I wouldn't get cork because corks, although great for balancing drills, not fantastic for stretch props because cork hurts and foam does not. I think it will drastically improve your stretching training. And they don't have to be the most expansive, fanciest foam blocks either. Remember, global competition on the app is still running. It does so through July 17th. Flexibility Boot Camp starts on Monday, and our summer sale ends Monday as well. And if you're watching the replay and you're like, why isn't she saying anything? I'm just checking out the comments to see if anyone asks a question. That's why I'm staring at the screen. And also, if you were unable to catch this from the beginning, you can watch it from the beginning on our main feed. It will be re-uploaded as a reel. Yay! Or a video, I guess. I don't know the format Instagram uses to replay lives. And let me know if you tried any of the examples in our live, how you're feeling, and if you will implement these changes to your own stretching. I'm hanging out a little bit after 1:30 because I was late again. I can never get it right. Alicia, just be on time. Very simple. All you need to do is connect your mic to the phone. My gosh, it's not like you have to show up to a studio. Shame on you. And also, if you're looking into the summer sale, we do have trials on our app. So make sure that you mark that day on your calendar where the trial ends, because if you don't like it, you don't want to get charged. We hate to see you go, but we don't want you to be unhappy either. So I'm just checking out the premises. If you're just joining, we covered the importance of form and stretching, what that means, my suggestions for a few examples. My goodness, we'll be here for an entire hour or more if I went over some of my favorite positions that I feel people can make better adjustments to. I'm happy to say, reporting from the Northeast, that our heat wave finally broke. My goodness, I never thought I would be happy to see 86 instead of 96. And New York is not familiar. Well, we are familiar with those types of temperatures, but not on a seasonal basis. So I know there are states in the U.S. where they experience upwards of 96 and higher every summertime. New York is not one of those states. So when we experienced the triple digits, we're like, no, we're not used to this, help. So we're finally back to normal. Well, hopefully it will remain this way for the rest of the season. Crossing fingers. Well, if that is it, family, thank you for joining. We appreciate you taking the time to join our lives. Again, global competition still running for lifetime workshop access. Flexibility Bootcamp begins on Monday, and our summer sale also ends on Monday. So you have the weekend to shop around, to think about it. And my apologies for not having a reminder up for our live today, but there will be a reminder for next Saturday. So hopefully you'll be able to join, make time to do so. And until then, I'll see everyone soon.